how important is patient accountability overall? And if you're thinking about building recurring revenue models, but this patient accountability, and maybe it's both ways. Maybe it's provider accountability to the patient, accountability to themselves, and how do you look at that part?
I, Honestly, I think it's probably one of the strongest drivers of engagement, retention, and most importantly, outcome. And you need, I think, the practices that are very transparent and clear. They really have clarity and purpose with that, and they just really try to initiate the importance of accountability both for the patient but also for the provider. Those are the ones that are going to be most successful. So I don't think you can emphasize enough the importance of patient accountability. And you can do that when you're doing your reassessments too. Like there's all kinds of little, I don't want to call them tricks because that's not accurate, but there's all kinds of little nuances that you can incorporate with your operating system, right? With when we have this operating system put into place and you create that structure, there's all kinds of little things, but that, being able to occasionally, bring that up as far as like reinforce that accountability is extremely important for a favorable outcome and long-term participation.
Retesting, right?
Hmm.
Retesting is an accountability metric.
Yep,
The
it is.
program's working, the client's following through. And so there's all these touch points. I like that. Having the client come back in as often is possible, figuring out what that looks like for your facility. You might have 1,500 square feet. Maybe you can't have people coming in all the time going into a hyperbaric chamber. Maybe it's not practical for that facility, but is it practical to find a solution to have a quarterly touch point with a client? Is it practical to have a monthly touch point with a client, especially if they're just starting out their journey?
That great point on the hyperbaric chamber too, because of the time component of that, right? Are you taking up staff? Are you taking up space? Or, given the square footage of your facility, are you actually decreasing your profitability because of that? But that's a great point that you bring up.
Yeah. So, and I like these modalities for the destination practice where patient can come in, set them up, and walk away. Right. Red light, PMF,
Red
hyperbaric,
light, big
right?
time. Yep.
Multiple touch
Red light.
points where they can come in and, hey, you know what? You're there 20 minutes and then you can leave afterwards.
We utilized one of the facilities. We utilized red light with one of our membership models, and it was included with one of the tiers, and we really struggle with that. But in the end, it was like when you took. I remember I did an exercise where I took the top 50 patient complaints,
Yeah.
musculoskeletal, mental, traumatic brain, PTSD, everything, top 50. And of all the service lines that we had at the time, red light covered over 90% of those 50. And so, yeah, it was not just like, I'm talking like high end, like the tables that you deliver, the high end red light tables. It was over 90% of that. And so we decided that to benefit the patient, to really create a favorable outcome, we actually included red light into that membership. So they didn't have to pay for it. Whereas if they didn't have that membership, they would pay, they could still have packages, they could still do a la carte. But we just found that our outcomes were so much more impressive. And we went back and we would research the patients, and it just came to be that a lot of them are taking advantage of that red light. So it's like whatever you can do to get them into that, still maintain your profitability and still gravitate towards a favorable outcome, you're going to have just a rock in practice, regardless of what it is that you're selling.
I like it. And they're basically selling, right? Let's go back to the beginning. They're selling the outcome, right? They're selling the journey. The modalities are the vehicles on how we get them through their journey to their outcome. If we're missing the components within the practice, or if you have ineffective modalities within the practice, you're not going to get them there. If you're not an aesthetic based practice and you're bringing someone through a journey, but your modalities are all focused on aesthetics, you're going to be in trouble, right? You
Yeah.
have to have the right
And
mix
again,
of components.
yep. And again, your technology is an amplifier. So if you have really good structure, if you have your systems in place, if you put the time into your infrastructure, it's going to look like wizardry, right? Your technology is going to be brilliant. But if you
Right.
don't, it'll reveal gaps very, very quickly. And that's the thing, you have to have that structure in place. And then once you do, everything else just kind of falls into